Welcome back. Today we're going to learn about the Massachusetts Bay Colony in video number 2 of Chapter 3, Settling the Northern Colonies. The Bay Colony Bible Commonwealth. The charter authorized a colony to be established in the area of present-day Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, and upstate New York. It also allowed for self-government in the colony. John Winthrop, a prominent Puritan lawyer and landowner, led the settlement. Puritans, unlike separatist pilgrims, sought to reform the corrupt Church of England from within, and by setting an example of godliness in the New World. In March of 1630, 11 ships carrying 700 colonists left England, followed later by 6 more ships carrying 500 settlers. On the ship, Winthrop delivered a famous sermon in which he elaborated on the significance of their endeavor, stating they had entered into a covenant with God to work out their salvation under the power and purity of his holy ordinances. Winthrop chose to settle on the peninsula that became the city of Boston, a place that was to be a city upon a hill, where the eyes of the world would be upon them. Winthrop's vision profoundly shaped 17th century New England, a place to which more than 20,000 new settlers came between 1630 and 1640, a period which came to be known as the Great Migration. On the map, you can see the main sources of migration during the Great Migration. During this Great Migration of the 1630s, about 50,000 English refugees, including Puritans, also settled in the West Indies. Puritans were fiercely determined to keep their covenant with God and to live by his laws, a fact which epitomized nearly every feature of 17th century New England life. New England immigrants generally came from the educated upper and middle ranks of English society, and in contrast to the Chesapeake region, most New England immigrants arrived as families. Building the Bay Colony. Puritans considered the family a little commonwealth that mirrored the hierarchy among all God's creatures and, as such, reinforced religious belief wherein children were to obey parents and their elders and wives were to obey their husbands. This system interlocked the institutions of church, family, and community for the mutual benefit and survival of all in the colony. Most immigrants were farmers, carpenters, tailors, and other skilled tradesmen who paid their own way. Approximately 1/5 were servants. 17th century New England differed from the Chesapeake in that numerous small towns were settled primarily along rivers, streams, and other bodies of water, as opposed to one large town on a large bay. 133 such towns were established, each centering around one or more Puritan congregational churches. Puritans believed church membership should be composed of free men and women who could prove they had experienced conversion. Conversion was a personal experience with God that qualified them as predestined individuals or visible saints. These visible saints, having entered into a solemn covenant with God, were to lead exemplary lives as reminders to believers and non-believers alike. This doctrine of a covenant also stipulated the purpose of government was to enforce God's laws, and that non-believers as well as believers must pay taxes to support the church. Membership in the Congregational Church was determined through public interrogations of those claiming to have experienced a conversion. Puritans sought to bring public life into alignment with God's law by 1, keeping the Sabbath, 2, fining Sabbath-breaking activities, 3, outlawing religious ceremonies and the celebrating of Christmas and Easter, 5, outlawing colorful, pretentious clothing, and 6, outlawing gambling, music, and dancing. Still, despite their spiritual intensity and dedication to the Protestant ethic of hard work and engagement in worldly pursuits, they enjoyed simple pleasures, they drank, ate plentifully, sang songs, and remained monogamous. Moreover, despite the importance of religion in Puritan life, Churches had no direct role in civil government. They wanted to keep the church separate from the corrupting influence of government, the earliest example of separation of church and state. The Bay Colony's royal charter permitted the colony stockholders to meet as a general court to make laws governing its affairs. In 1631, the General Court ruled that only freedmen could vote in annual elections for the governor, deputy governor, representative members of the General Court, and other colonial officials. When the General Court grew too large, as more settlers moved in and new towns were established, it was modified so that each town sent 2 representatives to the colony's legislative assembly. So now that we've learned a little bit about Massachusetts Bay Colony, in our next lesson, we'll discuss dissenters in the colony, people who did not agree with some of the laws and rules of the Massachusetts Bay Colony.